and welcome once again, everyone. My name is Ken Minot. I'm the president of the Maine Vintage Race Car Association, and I'm here to welcome you once again to another edition of Vintage Racers Roundtable, a production of MVRCA and Lincoln County TV. I want to start out, as always, by thanking our sponsors, Elevation Station and the Oxford Auto Salvage, for their support, and of course the folks here at Lincoln County TV. This is the next installment in a series of programs where we get together with some legendary figures and characters in the sport of motorsports here in the state of Maine, share some stories and look back into the rearview mirror of their legendary careers. Again, as I said, we're here at the Lincoln County TV studios and back with my co-host Pete Silva. Pete, you know what this is all about. You're a member of the Maine Motorsports Hall of Fame, the New England Auto Racers Hall of Fame, and you've crossed paths with a few of these guys.
Well, I've been around all three of them. Ron and Dave a little more, but these guys have raced, I'm going to use the term, half a century. Families are still in the game. They're still supporting the sport. They've been contributed their whole lives to the sport we love. So they're going to have some great stories.
Yeah, and that's kind of a common thread we're going to hit on in this episode here. Not just their careers, but their families still doing it today. But we'll run through our panel as always here and introduce the guys. I'll start across the table here. A longtime racer, various tracks around the state of Maine, a winner, patriarch of the Benjamin racing family, Mr. Ronnie Benjamin. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. And in the middle, a member of the Maine Motorsports Hall of Fame class of 2018, inaugural member of the Wiscasset Speedway Hall of Fame in 2019, the man they know as Boss Hog, Dave St. Clair. Welcome, Dave.
Thanks for having me.
And right next to Pete, we have here another legendary racer out of the Wiscasset area, longtime driver, sponsor, supporter of the track, still to this day, and also a member of the Wiscasset Speedway Hall of Fame class of 2022, Norm Sherman. So,
Thank you.
Thank you, Norm. We'll start off, Pete, I guess, like we always do.
I'd like this quick deal before you ask
Yeah.
me first questions. It's pertaining to Dave. So I called him about 2.5 weeks ago, not about this show. I think I was trying to come up with a list of Unity Raceway Hall of Famers. And before I hang up, I just throw it out there. I said, boy, a show with you and Ron and Norm would be great. And he says, well, when do you want to do it? I said, whenever you want. He said, well, I'm leaving in 2 weeks. I said, well, I don't know if we can put it together, but let me check with Larry and Ken. So I sent a message to Larry, and I called Ken Lane, and the historian, and I said, I'm not sure if we're doing this, but here's a heads up. So Ken calls me the next day about something else, and he said, I got good news and bad news for you. I said, what's the good news? He said, I've got the first 15 years of Dave St. Clair's history done, racing history. I said, that's pretty impressive. What's the bad news? He said, I've only got 45 years to go.
That's right. And actually, before we dig into things here, I want to take a minute and congratulate you on winning the President's Award at the Maine Vintage Hall of Fame ceremony a couple weeks ago.
Thank you. That was nothing I ever expected, but I certainly am impressed. Appreciative of it.
Well, you were telling me kind of off to the side that you had been trying to find your niche in the club, and I think through programs like this you've done that.
I think in the last year or so I finally found my legs, so to speak, and it has, I hadn't found it. I quit racing in 2006, and I hadn't found anything to scratch that itch, but this seems to be doing it. So thank you and the club and all the people that did that for me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So let's get into it. We always try to start off with just finding where it all began. So Ronnie, we'll start with you. What put a steering wheel in your hand? What got you interested in racing?
Well, I was talking to Pete earlier. I think back in the day, my father raced, and he had a couple buddies that they would go every week, and one would run the heat race and one would run the feature, and they'd kind of take turns.
What track was this at?
At Unity.
Yeah.
And then as track changed over, my father owned a tractor company and lent the equipment to Unity Raceway to build the new track. And I can remember going up there with him some, and then the tech man used to live right up the road, so he'd pick me up on Saturday night, and I'd ride up with him, and then at 10 years old or whatever, he'd let me drive his pickup around the pit, so that was pretty big. Yeah. just doing that, you know. And
how old do you think you were then?
Probably 10, 11, wow. You know, yeah. And I kind of got into it a little bit there, but then as time went on and stuff, and I actually didn't get into racing myself until I had a friend that we owned grocery stores, and I sponsored him, and I went down one night, and he says, I'm all done. I'm not going to do this anymore. And he says, you take the car. And I said, oh, God, I've never done this before. Well, that's how I started. I took the car and ended up in the top class at Unity right off the bat. And it took me a while to get, I said, I really wasn't sure what I was doing.
Was it pavement by then?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it was all pavement, but it was great. And from that was back in the late 70s. I don't know if I've missed a week of racing since then, because my family does it now, and I got 2 nephews that won Winston Cup teams down south, and we'd go visit them, and because they had connections, and God, they'd get us into,
Wow.
one of them was on Schrader's team, and one of them was on Kyle Larson's team, and we're just into it.
Yeah.
We still are.
Yeah.
I mean, when Trav sold his house, I give him my house where the race shop was, and he's been doing it for quite a few years, and I can still to this day look out of my window and see the lights on in the shop. So, I mean,
Yeah.
That's cool. You don't see that much.
I don't know this. We probably won't stop. We'll just keep going. No, I got
I don't think any of you are going to
nephew
stop.
doing it now. My brother's boy's doing it, Colby, and he's doing a great job. First year at Oxford, won Rookie of the Year, top 10 in points. Never been in a Super Late model in his life,
Yeah,
So.
that is impressive.
And now Trav's boy kind of talking about starting it a little bit. So I haven't decided to push him too much, but when he's ready, then maybe we'll do that too.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
as
know.
I said, I think that's kind of a running theme. Those roots kind
Yeah.
of run a little deeper than
Yeah,
you
Yeah.
realize.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And you got to have family that's into it, and they all are behind you, and it's just going
Yeah.
on. And I've loved every minute of it.
Well, it's worked good for you. It's still working
It
for your whole
is.
family.
Nothing would have. It couldn't have turned out any better.
Yeah.
Let's say that.
Yeah. Well, and I think that also, and you guys can speak to this too, you get out of a car and you tend to miss it. You got to get away from it, but you guys have all stayed involved in it, which I think it doesn't necessarily for you to cure that itch of wanting to drive still, but at least you're still in the sport. Dave, you're kind of the anomaly in the whole thing. I know you started back in the mid-'60s. Take us all the way back to where you started and how you got a steering wheel in your hand.
Well, I went to Unity Raceway in '65 and had never been to a race in my life. Didn't know what the flags meant or nothing, but the next week I had a car and they started me up front and I didn't end up in the front.
Should I tell them that's the year I was born? So.
You're going to make any
So
of us feel good.
that was interesting and
So there was no
After-
family connection for you before you ever
no,
got
Doug
started?
Ripley and Jack Light was my neighbors there, and they strapped me in for $37 and hauled me up there in the dump truck, and away I went.
How did it feel that first time out with no experience?
I can't even remember, but it was.
Must have felt pretty good. It's a half a century later.
Yeah,
Doing it.
well,
Yeah.
and as I said, you're kind of the anomaly in the whole thing.
But when you
You're
start in the
still
front of them
racing
guys
now.
that do it every week, and then they just start shoving you because they want to go through. I was just a teenage kid that was a hot rod on the back roads. I mean, I could beat everybody on them dirt roads.
Yeah,
But when we got to Unity, I mean, I found somebody could beat me.
yeah, you had to go.
Run into me, I got turned over. It was different,
didn't do
but
it.
I got hooked. I guess I went racing no matter what over the years.
Yeah, and you still do. I mean, I know you're still getting a car from time to time.
I would, but as you know, Ken, the 150, I never made a lap, and that car could have been put back together, but I had zero help.
Yeah,
Zero.
You had
'Cause
some
my
forces
wife and my
working
daughter, I'm
against
sure,
you.
was on the phone saying, "Don't you dare put that car back together, man."
I knew before any flag flew that day, you had some forces working against you.
Yeah.
But you are one of the few people that can say that you have raced in 7 different decades. I mean,
Races.
from the 60s
Just
right
him
through.
and Mike Rowe, probably.
Yeah.
Only 2 in the state of Maine that I know of.
Yeah,
Yeah, Mike's good. Mike still does good.
Yeah.
yeah. Now, Norm, you do have family connections, so take us back to when
Yes.
you started going around racetracks and then eventually got a wheel in your hand.
Well, 5 houses down from us that they decided to put Wiscasset Speedway. So I was helping my father. I was 9 years old in the dump truck going down over the big hill by the transfer station with no brakes. And we worked building the racetrack. And then my father raced after that. And And I grew up at the racetrack with Wilfred Cronk's son, David Cronk. And any car was left was open. It was open, you know, we'd just jump start it and take it around the track.
That's
and
cool.
Have a great time.
Now, your dad was Ken Sherman?
Ken Sherman, Apollo 11.
The Apollo 11,
Yeah.
yeah. We're going to make
Yeah.
sure we get a picture of that car up
Apollo
there.
11, yeah. Yeah.
And how did that eventually transition into you getting into driving?
Well, I was his crew chief as the only person he had for 3 or 4 years at 11 years old. But no, I just went from there and I bought a car from Buster Grover when I was in high school.
That blows my mind.
Yeah, I bought it from him for $100 and got that on the racetrack and won 2 or 3, 4 races with that the first year. But,
Did you win the first time you raced it?
oh, I doubt it. Yeah, we had probably 3,000 pounds in the right front with an old Plymouth Charger, wherever it was. But we figured it out. We did all right after a while.
Yeah, certainly did.
Yeah.
So going back to you being around the racetrack at a really young age, the call I made this week, it was giving my condolences to somebody that lost a friend. Used to be the assistant flagman at Wiscasset in the 60s, Dickie Giles.
I've heard the name, yes. Yeah.
Well, you must, because he was really tight with Cromford. He spent a lot of time with Wilfred.
Oh,
and,
yes,
yeah,
Dickie Giles,
and he
yeah.
said every time there was a demo derby, and he had to
Yes.
clean the track up, you were always
he
there
was-
trying
he-
to drive those cars around and
He-
move them with
that's
them. Do
the
you
guy.
remember that?
Yes, yeah, out of Booth Bay.
Yeah, he said to say hello to
Yeah.
you. I thought you'd get a kick out of
Yeah,
that.
he'd help us jump the cars. Bill Bailey used to help us and get the cars going. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have at it.
So you're the elder statesman. We'll start with you. Some cool facts here. I mean, Ken's gone through a lot of it. 1985 Unity Raceway Hall of Fame. 1993 All Seasons Motorsports Promoter of the Year. That's a pretty cool one. 91 through 07 Owner-Operator Wiscasset Speedway. Maine Motorsports Hall of Fame. 2018 Wiscasset Hall of Fame. 2019. Pretty impressive stuff, Dave. You realize that you made 470 starts? This is what I was talking about earlier that you wouldn't even remember or think about.
You got them all?
Well, hell no,
You
we'd
should
be
have
here
seen-
until I was too old to talk. You got 470 documented starts, and we had Dick McCabe on here a couple of weeks ago, and his percentage through first, second, and third was staggering. And then you come along. So out of 470 starts, you got 135 documented wins. That's 29% of your starts you won.
Wow.
So that's 328 top threes. That's 70% of your starts were top threes. This is a killer. 391 top fives. That's 83% of your starts were top fives. I bet you. I mean, I'm sure you never even thought about anything like that. But
No.
just
No,
just to say those numbers in
Yeah.
automobile racing, I don't care where you're doing it or what you're doing, it's staggering. It's freaking. I mean, darn
And-
staggering.
Dave you go back to that generation when we talked to Doug Ripley when he was here. Guys from your generation, you really didn't keep track of the stats.
Right.
It was just,
No,
you never really.
I couldn't even begin to tell you. I can remember some races that I've won
Oh,
and
yeah.
some that I've lost that I remember. And
You might remember those better. Some of them, the losing ones, you know. But I just, you know, 6 or 7 track championships and raced in, like we just said, 7 decades. Insanity.
While you're digging into that, I know the answer to this question, and these guys all know the answer to this question, but for the very few who don't, let's go back to the nickname, Boss Hog.
That's a good one,
Where did
yeah.
that come from?
oh, I had a guy working for me on the Dukes of Hazzard was on or whatever it
It was
was.
the most popular show around.
Oh, yeah.
This he just started calling me Boss Hog because I smoke cigars,
Yeah, Boss Hog on the TV show always had a
and it
cigar.
kind of stuck. And I didn't care for it at first, but you know when you get these young kids and stuff saying, "How you doing today, Hoggy?"
Yeah.
All this kind of stuff, and
Now answer this little myth. Did you actually race with a stogie in your mouth, or
I did for a few years. I don't anymore.
yeah,
Yeah, I remember that a little bit.
open face helmet?
I
T-shirt,
used to
and a
take it to
cigar.
bed too, but I don't anymore. When I leave my chair at the TV, it stays in the ashtray. And any kids that are watching this, I'm not. Don't smoke. You're better off not to smoke. I've smoked way too many years.
So where did all the yellow come from in number 14?
No.
I started with a 55 Ford, and I believe that was black or blue or something. And then I had a 58 Chevy that was blue.
The reason I asked that, since I've known
I'm going to
you,
get to it if you let me.
Oh, I
finish
thought you
my-
were done.
No, I ain't done.
Okay, well, you get
Then I
taking a breath.
I bought Fuzzy Holden's car, a 57 Chevy with a little bandana hanging out of it.
Already
It was yellow
yellow,
with a
yeah.
white roof, and I've been yellow ever since.
That had flower power on the side
Yeah,
of it.
had
didn't
the
it?
flowers on it,
Yeah,
painted
flower
on
power.
it. Yeah. $600 in the van. I didn't have $600. And I don't know if I should tell this story or not. But my wife had better credit than I, and she went down to the bank and borrowed $600 on an old yellow taxi cab that come out of New York that was worth nothing. It was in my junkyard, but it was new enough at the time, even though it had 300,000 miles on it, that the bank loaned us $600 on it. So that's how I bought that car.
You must have won all the money to pay for it, right? Racing.
I don't remember if she paid for it or I did. Maybe we never paid the bank. I don't know.
Did you pay her back?
I must have.
No.
The reason
She's still with you, so.
the reason I asked the question about the yellow, I haven't seen you for decades dressed in anything but red.
Yes, we refer to him at the racetrack as the big red shirt.
Red man.
If
Yeah.
you're in the grandstands, you look on the backstretch, you'll see a red shirt there.
I think the red shirt come in the 90s.
Yeah. How come not yellow shirts is my point. I mean,
I have yellow shirts. They were before the red ones.
I had a shirt and I couldn't find it today. I wanted to bring to you today. You gave it to me 3 decades ago. You said you'll never wear it or keep it. And it was when you were truck racing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Number
you were on your
15?
way to Rockingham or somewhere.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us
I
a
don't
little bit
remember
about.
giving you the shirt, but I remember Rockingham.
Yeah.
Some
Very
people
well.
may not realize that you used to race big rig trucks.
Yeah, that was in 80 and 81.
Yeah.
What were some of the tracks you raced at?
Rockingham, Atlanta, Pocono, Dover.
Did they go to Darlington? No.
No,
Pocono, you must. Some pretty fast places,
I
really.
crashed at Pocono. Yeah, that was.
How'd you
truck-
like
How did I like what?
those tracks?
I liked Rockingham. I
Yeah.
got my first taste of drafting with a 16,000-pound truck at Atlanta.
No way.
Atlanta.
Well, that place is
I'm
fast.
leading the heat race, and this line of truck comes up, and they all pass me. I mean, it's just like I turned the key off.
Yeah.
I mean, even with that kind of weight.
Unbelievable. I would have never thought, didn't expect to hear that at all about drafting
Well,
in a tractor trailer.
That's what I blame it on.
No, it makes sense.
It's like the throttle's got nothing, and
I've been there. I know what you're
flying
saying. It's like you hit a wall and
Yeah.
you just shut off. Yeah.
I wouldn't believe
He
that.
told
in
me
a
he
truck.
drove one down to the races once and wrecked and had to get a ride home.
I
That was
read
Pocono
about
when I
that.
wrecked it. Yeah, me and my wife and the 2 kids in a bobtail to Pocono in that truck with no sleeper. And I mean, this was a truck you run it on the road. We haul potatoes with it and everything. When we haul watermelons, when I went to Atlanta, we went to Florida and got watermelons and brought them back to Baltimore.
So, what,
And you raced your ride home.
so what'd you do? I mean,
When I wrecked it, there happened to be some people in Pocono from Maine. We couldn't all come in one car. We got a ride home. Me, my wife,
Wow.
the kids went with. I think my daughter come home with Dick Ripley.
what'd you do with the truck?
And leave it there. Sent it back and got it.
Yeah. Wow.
And then sold it to White and Bradstreet. You ever hear of them?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Well,
watching
that's
them
where
in the
it ended
60s on the side of another yellow
I had the
car.
door in my bedroom on the wall. The driver's door was the only thing left that was salvageable. I mean, the only thing.
How fast were you going when you wrecked, do you think?
100. But at the time, I don't know what the walls are at Pocono now, but they had the short walls because with the race cars, they go on, the fence comes out over
Yeah.
from the wall. Well, this truck is probably 4 feet higher than them cars.
Yeah.
And when that went in, hit that wall, when I went down that fence, it peeled the roof right off. No roll bars inside this thing. We had a roll bar behind the cab. It pulled that roof right back to the roll bar, right over my head.
Dude.
And of course, I'm hanging on the steering wheel. I didn't let go like you see them now,
Yeah.
NASCAR. So I'm hanging on the steering wheel. I thought my wrist was both broke right off. I mean,
Yeah, I bet.
it hurt so bad that I just.
Was
it
that,
was
the
bad.
end, was that the end of your truck racing?
No, I raced one more time at Dover with a Mack, another
you-
guy's truck.
Did you do pretty good?
Finished the race. I can't remember where we finished, but the right front was blistered all
Yeah.
ready to blow when that race was over.
Geez, yeah, those trucks and all that weight transfer, I
amazing.
can't even imagine
Well,
tires
that,
stayed on them anyway.
But that was a good feeling winning it. I won at Rockingham.
No, I didn't even, I wasn't even,
I
wow.
have the trophy at the house. It's
Good for
about
you.
this tall with a tractor trailer on the top of it. My wife got rid of all my trophies back when we had the track. I don't know if Ken remembers.
Yeah.
But she brought them up there and
Give 'em to
feed
the
them. I
kids.
don't know how
Just
many I had,
boxes
but a
and
lot.
boxes of them,
I
yeah.
managed to keep the championship ones and that truck one and some of the, even the one from Penny Roy. I got that one. It's about this tall, about this big around, about this tall, 7 feet tall when I won 100 lapper there that year. So I managed to keep 6 or 8 of the trophies. I still have them.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. I mean, there were some pretty good people doing that at one time. How many trucks do you think were in that race?
So I know how many was in it. 30. You had to qualify. You didn't get in.
Wow.
Wow, David, that's,
But there's like 40 trucks there. But you paid $1,000. You didn't qualify. You still paid $1,000. You didn't get to race.
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you won a lot of races, but that's got to be one of the biggest ones. I mean, really, that's
Oh,
just
yeah,
a
that
really
was-
different, rare deal. And that's basically a speedway. It's a mile track.
Yeah.
And it's banked. I mean, I've been there. It's
That's
banked.
pretty good. It's got a little dog leg coming
Yeah.
out of 2.
What possessed you to do that?
Oh, I heard it on the radio there. They had a race in Atlanta and this old truck won it there. So I said, hell, we can do that. And we packed up. We loaded all the trucks with potatoes and down we went.
Make a business trip out of it. Yeah.
And everybody made the deliveries. So all of us, we had 5, 6 trucks and it was all there. The whole crew was there. Everybody was there. The kids went.
That's impressive. Norm,
Yes.
so the car you bought from Buster Grover, I mean,
Yeah.
what division was that for?
That was it's strict, probably street stock. back
Okay.
then, Yeah.
So I got you from 82 to 88 at Wiscasset, 12 documented feature wins. Then it goes 82 to 86 in the street stock division, 12 starts, 3 documented wins, 10 top 2s. Out of those 12 starts, you got 12 top 3s. Second in the championship. And the next year, third in the championships. In 86, you're the Triple Crown winner with 2 wins. What's the Triple Crown? The series of races?
Yeah, 3 series, and we won that, winning 2 out of 3.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, you were a victim of the instability of the track back then.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
hard to get any momentum.
Yeah, I think Bob Weber had it for a while, then there's a Pentagas or something.
Yeah,
George.
Bob Pendergast, yeah.
George, yeah.
Bob,
George, sorry.
Penny
George
Roy.
and his brother Bob. Bob just died last week. Yeah.
Yeah, Penny Roy.
Yeah,
The Emersons took a swing at it for half a
Emerson,
season.
yeah.
I know the name Penny Roy, and you've said it several times. I must not have been around then. What did she rented it?
Yes, she did.
She leased it or something. She
From-
run
from-
7 races there. The 8th time we went there, she was standing up there in tears
Yeah.
and because she
Just run out of
couldn't,
money.
didn't have no money to pay the
Yeah.
insurance. She had no insurance, so they couldn't run the race.
They tried hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. But back then it was pretty it wasn't stable at all.
You
Coming and
always had
going.
some really nice
Yeah.
looking cars back then too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. My father had a body shop, so I always used to fix my cars up, stuff
Yeah.
like that.
And you worked a little bit with Mike Moody.
A lot.
you-
a lot
yeah.
with
Said
Mike
in
Moody.
1980, he was crew chief
Yeah.
for Mike Moody.
Yeah.
It wasn't just me. I had, I call him Junior Giroux, but and Gerald Sproul and a few others. But then I helped him for quite a few years in the Fords, and
You guys had a lot of success.
We had a
didn't
lot
you?
of fun. We had a lot of
Yeah.
fun. Buying motors from Cates, Larry Cates. Who's the guy who had Larry Pottle? We bought Fords from motors from him.
So they probably ran pretty good.
We had fun. Yeah.
That was the case when we inducted Mike Moody into the Wisconsin Hall of Fame. Just a sad case of unrealized potential. He was
Yeah.
at the top of his game when we lost him.
Yeah, he was. 1985 in November we lost him. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody speaks highly of him.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah, he was a
You
nice
know,
guy.
I wasn't around when he was
Yeah.
doing as well as you guys did, but boy, everybody says a lot
Yeah,
of good
just
things.
a pure talent.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
sounds it.
I finally talked Skip Cahill and let him drive his car. So we flew him with a friend's airplane after Wiscasset Speedway. We flew him to Oxford and run 100 lap on Skip Cahill's car. We did good, 8th and 9th, 10th, but
That's not bad.
That was
Out
good.
of the box.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
always liked Skip. Is he still with us?
yes, yeah. Yes.
Is he around?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you ever see him?
Bath area. I haven't for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I always thought he was a good guy.
Yeah.
All right, we'll jump over here to
Yeah.
Ron. Football, basketball, and golf.
Yeah,
Explain that to me. Now, we're about the same height, and I played basketball, but I was just a hatchet man. What were you?
I was fast.
Quick.
When was that?
Yeah, it's been a while. 69, 68, 70.
So tell me about the golf part of it.
No, I love golf. Yeah.
Do you play, David?
Yeah.
I have before,
How long that last?
just long enough to make the kids happy I was with. I got a little story when you want to talk about golf. I shouldn't tell this story.
Go ahead. I mean, I'll get.
Yeah, that's
we don't
fine.
want.
Yeah.
When I was 12 years old, I lost my front teeth. You know how I lost them?
Don't tell me a golf ball or golf
Number
ball.
one driver,
Oh.
right in the face.
What'd you do to piss the guy off?
I don't know. I don't know if this guy done it. It was supposedly a mistake.
Wow.
What happened right after that? I'm curious.
I was spitting chiclets and I was on the way to the hospital.
Boy, that had to hurt. I can't
I
even.
believe it did, you know, it was a long time ago. I guess I'm over it. But
So, from
you want me to
78.
tell you the name of the guy that's swinging the club?
Yes, I do.
I'm not going to.
You ass.
Stanley Grover from Rockland.
Part of the Grover crew?
No. No.
No,
I've heard
different
that
one,
name.
different
Where do
one.
I know that name
I
from?
don't know. Maybe he's a senator. I don't know what he is. I haven't talked to him for years.
That's a good reason not to, I guess.
You want to invite him to go play golf here on this show?
No, I have no hard feelings. I don't know what happened. I know why.
By the way,
racing.
he doesn't have any teeth now. That guy.
That's right.
I got 13 left.
No, not you. It's Stanley.
So from 78 to 94, you had 32 Unity Raceway starts, 3 Wiscasset, 2 Spud Speedway. You got 5 wins at Unity. Does that sound right?
Yeah, probably.
19 top 3s. I get a kick out of this one. Oh, this whole group on percentages. 32 starts. So if you had 32 there and 3, 35 and 37, 25 of those starts were top 5s. You must, I mean, I wasn't around then, I guess, but you must have run pretty damn
I
consistent.
run good. No, only guy that ever, I think, well, when Dave was there, Dave beat me all the time. But
Oh,
Butch Burgess,
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
those two guys, those
he
guys
won.
did
He
well.
won like 10 or 12 one year, and I was second every friggin' time. I couldn't beat him. But he was. We got
Yeah.
along good. We were great friends. So yeah. And Dave, I remember racing with Dave a lot, and he'd be starting ahead of me, and I'd say, "Man, he got that. He did have that cigar in his friggin' mouth," and I said, "I'm going to stay up with him." I'd tell you what, you wouldn't get the friggin' number 1 turn. He's 5 cars ahead of me. I said, how did God did he do that?
Yeah, I know how he was. I had to
He
race
won, when he
against him,
won on
too.
the track, he's down off the lip there.
Yeah.
So,
That was his trademark deal when
Yeah.
I was there in the 70s.
Yeah.
If you couldn't find him, you just had to look for the dust.
yeah. We won at Caribou. We went up to Caribou one time. That was fun. It was
Is that the Firecracker 100 where you finished second?
no, we won one time up there, and we got second after
No,
that. We
good
did,
for
yeah.
you. Was it a regular race or
Yeah, it was a
100
50 lapper, I think,
Yeah.
something like that. And then I remember probably one of the best things. I just happened to think of it when I didn't go to Wiscasset much. I didn't really have. I didn't spend the money on cars like you know what I mean, like we do today. And
Yeah.
I just didn't. That wasn't my goal. I just had fun doing it. But down there at Wiscasset that night, the Bush Grand National was here. Well, the top 3 got to qualify with them next day. Oh, I got second that night. So me and John Fippen and I can't remember who the third one was, but we got to qualify the next day with the Bush cars.
nice.
Because we were faster.
Yeah.
And a lot lighter cars, you know.
Did you
That-
race with him against
No,
him?
no, you couldn't race with them. You just got to qualify with
Yeah.
them.
So-
But that was fun, and I don't think Bush has ever been there again. They were just there
Yeah,
one
they were there
time.
twice.
They were there twice,
93
yeah.
and 94.
Yeah, I know whatever year that
92 and
was.
93.
Because when they started,
Right in that area.
Yeah, that was fun.
when they the reason I asked that question, when they started it up again, it went from NASCAR North to Busch Grand National
Yeah.
North. They used to let the Saturday night cars
Yeah.
run because
Yeah.
it was a startup division and they were worried
Yeah.
about having enough
Yeah, I
cars.
don't think we
I
did
know
that.
they came to Unity years ago and
Yeah.
they wouldn't let us race. I wanted to
Yeah,
race against
yeah.
them. They said they weren't going to let us race, and I even brought my car to Unity, but I didn't get to
I do
race.
remember one night down there, Gabe Gabry. Gabe
Yep.
used to win a lot, right? So
was
they
good
were
in
out there, and I
92
was
car.
like third. And it was Gabe and Stan and me. And I'm thinking, geez, this is cool. I'm staying right up with these guys. Well, Christ, they went to pit. I said, I wanted to pay attention to freaking flagmen. I was trying to stay up with them. We went in, I could hear the announcer saying, well, I guess they've had enough. We got one lap to go. Well, Stan and Gabe both broke.
Oh,
At the
no.
same time?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they
Oh,
just
no.
pulled in the pit. And I followed them. I said,
Oh,
everybody did.
You followed him in the pits?
Everybody did. The whole field
So who
did.
won the race?
Must have been Gabe. They must give it. It's a heat race. It was. It
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
the feature.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't the feature. But I could hear the announcers say, "Geez, I guess they've had
Everybody
enough."
just followed
Yeah, they
him
all
in,
followed him in. Yeah.
So then you decide to go act racing.
I did go act racing for half a year, and it was a money thing. I didn't have the money to spend. I chased him, and I like Curly. Curly treated me good, and we did good at
Yeah,
we
I
had
followed them all around, too.
Yeah, we did. We
did?
had some good
Yeah.
races with them. Act.
Never had
Adley,
much
and
success.
Oh, yeah, I got it here.
Yeah.
You had 4 top 10s and 21 starts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you run any of the ACT races at Wisconsin in the late 80s?
Possibly.
I know Craven won one of them, I think.
I think I
That
must
might have been
have.
his first win. He'd won a trophy dash at Beach Rage, but I think that particular race you're talking about was his first victory.
Yeah.
As he was climbing the ladder. Yeah. So we'll keep trying to move around here.
Yeah.
We're going to go to Unity Raceway. Your history there, 65 to 2008, 231 feature starts, 75, 79 feature wins, 4 track championships, and you had starts in the Peanut, Mini, Hobby, Charger, Limited, Late Model, and Pro Stock. And forgive me for asking this question, but I can't mentally put together in the same sentence Dave St. Clair and Peanut. They just don't go together. What was that division?
That must have been a 4-cylinder.
Was it?
Yeah, I can't picture that either.
No, I
I
just,
bought that
Dave St.
car
Clair, I
off
just
the big
can't do
kid in
it.
Wisconsin. I took that, run that
The
up there.
Peasley kid?
No,
No?
it was a
Big kid
kid
in
from
Wisconsin.
Rockland.
Yeah. Huh. What was it about Unity that you like so much?
Well, it was in the back door yard for one
Yeah.
thing. I just always had a good time there. Ralph treated me good. I mean, I raced for Ralph, and I raced for other ones afterwards, you know. Ralph knew racing.
Yeah.
I mean, if you bump somebody, there was a guy from Waterville once told me, he said, you knock on the door a couple times, if it don't open up, you kick it open.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd like to find that guy. Evidently, you listened well. So then,
I was probably a little rougher than, I'm certainly rougher than Josh is for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
It's a
at
different-
Bangor, I would not have finished third. I'd either won that race or,
Well, that
Right.
kind of goes into the Boss Hog reputation,
And
the legend of Boss Hog, and people say,
well, the difference was when I raced,
make sure they
we
know you're
couldn't
there.
buy race car parts till after 6 o'clock on Friday because the money was we didn't have any money.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So we write the checks after 6 o'clock, and at Monday, by Monday or Tuesday, we had the money in the bank.
Yeah.
yeah, I've done that before on tires before.
Motors.
Definitely.
But that's one thing I always remember, the stories of, I've only seen the second half of your career. Guys like these have seen more of it, but the legend I always hear is, Dave always at least let the people know he was there. You
All
know?
I need is a lane. All I want's a lane.
Yeah.
If they don't want to give me a lane, I'm taking one.
Yeah.
Dave was fine until he put the helmet on.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be ready.
That wasn't the same guy we're talking to right now, right? Yeah, I believe it. So we're going to go to Speedway 95 quickly. 74, 2011, 101 documented starts, 21 feature wins, 79 Super Limited Track Championship. You had starts in the Hobby, Limited Division, Super Limited, Late Model Sportsman, and Pro Stock. I can see why Josh gets his desire to run in every division
Whatever he
every
can get in.
Saturday night now. Came from you.
He's trying to beat my record.
I think
I'd say
he's doing pretty good.
I'm impressed with your record, but I won't
Yeah.
be surprised if he beats anybody's record at Wisconsin at the
right.
rate he's going.
Right.
It's getting there.
So Norm,
Uh-oh.
along the way here, you go by a late model sportsman car. Tell me about that.
That was in '87. I found a distant chassis, and we went all over New England finding parts for motors, and finally got it together with no money. And I raced it. Penny Roy had the track with Dave. And Dave and I have a joke about the first heat. We was buying and selling cars every day, every week, so we knew each other pretty well. So he was the hot shot, I was the rookie, and I was on the inside, and he was on the outside, just about ready to pass me. He let up, and I got ahead of him, and I won the heat. And his crew chief gave him holy oh hell. Right?
He didn't like that.
He didn't like that a bit. So after that, the track, I think after 2 or 3, 4 races, the track closed. But the car was an offset chassis, so it wasn't good other than Bangor, and I didn't want to go to Bangor, so I sold it. Yeah.
So he must like you pretty good because he never backed off when I was around him.
He never backed off when I was around you either. I had to buy your
There was
car
a
to get
reason
rid
for
of
that. I was trying to get away from you.
He said he had to buy a car to get rid of you, he said.
You won quite a few races at Unity.
And with your story about racing together, and I've told you this before, one of my favorite photos in all the history photos I have at Wiscasset is the victory cigar. Tell us about that.
Well, he'd come in after he won, and he'd get out of the car. He says, "Norman, did you win?" I said, "Yep." "Did you?" Well, because I knew he won, because it was afterwards. But we'd light up the cigar and have a cigar together. But
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a cool picture. I always smile when I look at that.
yeah.
I can't help it. But all right, Ron. So we've been through a lot of stuff, and now I do want to spend some time talking on the family dynamics
yes.
and their actual dedication to the sport we love. So at
Right.
what point does Travis start showing interest?
Well, how this worked is I never had a new car, never had a new motor. We'd always just put them together. In fact, his crew chief would put my motors together for me, and the pistons would be all loose.
You're talking about Sonny Hall?
Yeah,
Sonny
we
can do a lot of
we
things.
just had what we had, and I got into it. And all of a sudden, I said, you know what? I had got my stores going, and they were doing pretty good. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna buy me a new motor and a new chassis this year. I'm gonna do this. So I started. I got the motor. I hadn't got the chassis yet. I had my old one up for sale, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna sell my stuff, and it's still the same shop that we have today. And Jimmy McGinnis shows up. Says, I'm interested in your stuff, he says. So he comes in the shop and he says, oh God, I'd like to have that new motor. I said, we get that new motor. That's what I want. I said, I've never had anything new, so I'm going to have me a new car, new motor. Well, I'm kind of interested in it. I said, well, I don't know what to tell you. He said, he went out and talked to his wife and comes in. He says, look, I'm going to give you, I can't remember what the price was, for everything. I said, whoa. I said, my wife told me I was never going to get out of this sport. So I went in to see her and I said, Sharon, I'm done. I just sold everything I got. Every piece of equipment. I mean, I cleaned my garage.
You never even drove your new car?
Nope, never got it. Never even got it. So I says, you know what? We'll get Travis a go-kart. That will be perfect.
That ended up being a pretty inexpensive venture.
Yeah, that was a Bush Grand National car and up through, But I'll tell you what, it just couldn't have worked out any better.
So you just
I've never sat.
moment,
I've never sat in a car to that day.
All
Since that
three of
day.
you got some great kid stories here, and we'll get to them. But you brought up the Grand National deal. I mean, where was his experience level when you went and did that?
Well, what happened first, it really got going, was Seekonk is a tough place to race.
I've been
when
there,
you get
yeah.
Rick Matton and Houlihan and all them guys, well, we ended up with a crew chief. A guy wanted to help Travis, so I said, "That's right, we'll have somebody." So we let him do the car down in Tiverton, Rhode Island, and he brought the car to the track, and so we all signed up for that Budweiser 100. He was 16,
Okay. Pretty young.
and we started racing that night, and God, we had 4 or 5 yellows, and they said, look, guys, we're going to put this single file restarts if you do it again. And sure, they started to go single file, and I'm thinking to myself, they just made a mistake. And maybe Frank Travis won that race, the Budweiser 100 that night.
Where were you at? Oxford?
At Seacom.
Seacom?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. He was 16 years old, and I said, "Whoa, is this fun?"
Holy.
I did have a few beverages that night. I
Yeah.
know that, you know. So
I never
then
knew
after
that.
that, we got into just racing around, you know. And then I remember in one of my stores to get into bush stuff. I was at Belfast store, and I got a phone call from Irvin Oil. Ronnie, they said, we want to get into this Bushman National stuff. We can set you right up. We'll give you, I think back then it was, we'll give you $100,000. Holy God!
And that was when?
This
what
was,
year? 80 something?
Yeah, I'm thinking, holy crap! What do I do
That's
now?
pretty good.
I'm not saying no. Yes, we're in. But
We'll
we
figure it
didn't
out.
know nothing
Yeah,
about
yeah.
it. I did it wrong. We ended up buying Bobby Coben stuff, which Jeff Taylor drove at that year.
Is that the car we set on the pole with it, Loudon?
Could be.
Yeah.
And he was getting out of it, so we ended up buying that. And they had a couple cars and
All Ford stuff?
yeah, all
Yeah.
Ford stuff, and I thought Irvin would, you know, we did the whole deal. We went everywhere. We went to Dover, we went everywhere, and shouldn't have done it. They only cared if I done 4 or 5 races, you know, they didn't care. So, but we ended up pretty good. He got rookie of the race at Watkins Glen. I mean, that was awesome to do that. We got like, I think 3rd or 4th at Beach Ridge one time. But it just cost so
It had
much.
to be a good learning curve, though.
Yeah, it was fun, but we couldn't. And then Irvin, you know, they kind of backed off a little. I should have. And I see Andy last weekend over the show saying, "Ted, I said I should have just rented a car off you
Yeah.
3 or 4 times that year. We'd have been better off."
But look
we
at the
didn't.
career it launched now.
Yeah, so then we got into went to Unity, and I know the story with Trav. We bought a 6-cylinder car off Kimball that used to race Wisconsin. He
Mike Kimball.
all
Yeah.
the time down here. So we bought that car, and I took it to Unity and let Trav drive it and practice, and he spun out in 3, and Doc Susky hit him head on with a super late model, destroyed the car, pretty much destroyed. We didn't even race yet. So I said, what do we do? I said, I can't buy another car. So I took it to a auto body place, and the guy says, wait, that frame's all broke. I said, what do we do? He says, look, I'm gonna cut a piece out of it, 4 or 5 feet long, we'll put a piece in. So that's all I need. I mean, my geez, you got like second in points that year, and that's how
Yeah.
we started out. And then we were gonna run late model, was it late model or super late models, and they done away with them, so we ended up buying Chocolate Chances Limited, which
That
was
was a
very,
good car.
very
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
car.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Trav wanted to run the circuits. We never ran really for points at all. We've always ran.
So when
Yeah, I
you say
don't
the
recall you
circuit,
guys
what was
have
the
ever done
circuit
that.
then?
NEPSA had
yeah.
a circuit. Then we went. We did the. It must be pass. I mean, we done pass for a lot
Yeah.
of years. We had.
I don't
you know.
recall you guys that
Well,
has ever, like you said, done a full season in any one
No,
track.
no,
Yeah.
we've never done that. We just always run the circuit here and there. We like to travel and stuff like that.
you got so you were doing full circuits.
Yeah,
because-
you know, and then it's like, it's just been amazing. I mean, he's won everything there is to win. You know,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
we won I think
Including a
7
little
times.
race up at Oxford
yeah,
a
we
couple
won
times.
7 times at Star, I think, which is a tough track. You know, won 3 in a row down here one time. Then we 3 250s, 2
Yeah.
Canadian 250s, Beach Ridge 300.
Yeah.
I mean, and 2 past championships and 1
12
Grand
and-
State championship.
This year, yeah.
12 and 17, 15-time past Super late model winner, 5th all time.
Yeah.
2023 Granite State
Yeah,
Championship.
And we lost the
Travis,
points
I
by-
think you got a future in this
we
business.
lost
buddy,
the
so.
points to pass by 1 point one time and 3 points one other time.
Been there, yeah.
It's just been a dream come true for
Well, you
myself that likes racing.
Yeah.
You know, my brother Bruce is into it more than I am. He
Yeah.
just-
says he's a spotter for Travis.
Yeah, he spotted for Trav.
Okay.
Well, this year he did Colby because Trav wasn't sure what we were gonna. We're kind of backing off a little bit, you know. Except he loves working on them. He has a shop. He works on cars, and it's just.
Well, it served you well.
It
It served
could.
us well.
Couldn't get any better.
Now the
I don't know how
family dynamic. I mean,
Yeah.
another unique opportunity you had, Dave, is most guys get to race head to head against their sons. You got to race head to head with your son and 2 grandsons in one race. Well, more than once, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
I'm
gotta be
looking
cool.
forward now to racing with my great grandson.
that'd be neat. Yeah.
That'd be the tire bill for that one's going to be good.
Who cares? I'll come see you, Norm. Get along.
So, how old was Punchkin before he decided? Was he the first one in the
He
field?
raced when he was, I don't know if he had to be 16 or 15 back then.
Yeah.
Did he run pretty good right out of the box?
Yeah.
Pretty good. And then he run a 6-cylinder. And then he
And street
run the
stocks.
street stock, which is sitting up by my band still.
Yeah. And then along comes Josh.
And then he had Punson was a good driver. He
Yeah, he just
one
went into
night
the
my back
Wisconsin
was
Hall
bothering
of
me
Fame.
in Wisconsin. I was driving because the reason he didn't race so much because he always helped me. He
Yeah.
never.
Right.
Anytime I ever call Punson and the kids, I call them up and, yes, Dad, I'll be right there. Yes, Gramps, be right there, no matter if it's racing or whatever. Racing's a little bit different. I should have rephrased that because now my racing career, I don't ask them for something and get a quick response.
They got their own
The
going.
response
Right?
is gone.
Yeah.
Not because they got one, because they got orders from up above.
Yeah.
Don't help
Yes.
Gramps.
Like I said,
don't
force is
want Grant
working
racing.
against him. But no, Punson actually went into the Wisconsin Hall of Fame this year. So
Well, he was down there a few years ago
Nice.
when I was racing, and I put my back out or something. He jumped in the car, had to start in the rear. They wouldn't let us buy tires because he was a different driver, but he said he couldn't buy tires. Had to run my tires, start in the rear. Ended up third.
Nice.
Never driven a car before. I mean, he can drive.
yeah. And then Josh and Ryan.
Along comes Josh and Ryan and
Right.
Ashton. Because Ashton
Yeah.
Bloom late. He hasn't won a race yet, but he
He
will.
Was, he was doing some motocross
If
racing. Ashton
Oh,
was,
he won motorcycle racing, but Tammy
Yeah.
wanted him to ride that motorcycle and race that, which he broke his shoulder or something doing that a couple of times.
And your granddaughter raced for a little while.
Cassandra won some
Cassandra,
races
yeah.
in the 4-cylinder, yeah.
Yeah.
She was a little pushy like me.
I can remember.
I'm sure if Margie's listening, she'll understand what I'm saying, but Margie was good to race with.
What are your thoughts on the success that Josh has found recently? He's been at it for a while. He's not a spring chicken anymore, but the last 3-4 year sample size matches the career of some of the greatest drivers in the track's history.
Yeah, but you go back to his career when he started, when he was 16 driving a late model, and look at the races he won at 95 in Bangor,
Yeah.
and Wisconsin won at that time. I mean, he won a lot of races then.
Yeah.
A lot of important races.
Yeah.
But no, he's done well. But he sits up there and works on that race car. The other grandsons don't tend to spend so much time in the garage as he does. He's there 2 or 3 nights, or whenever Macy will let him be there. And
Yeah.
I mean, he'll sit there to make I don't even know what you'd call it, but the
But he's
changes are nothing. He'll weigh that car and roll it off and weigh it again and measure it again. And
But he wins in whatever he gets in.
if the car's right, he can.
Yeah.
He does
That's why he
well.
does well, just what
Yeah.
he's saying.
Yeah.
So, but going back to Punchkin, and I can remember, I wasn't around here, but I'd always try to find something to read about what was going on at Wisconsin Unity, and he was strong.
He had a bunch of championships.
Yeah, he did well.
He raced
I mean,
with Dwayne Love and a bunch of them.
Alan
yeah.
Moeller.
So-
Alan Moeller and
And you got a lot going with your son racing. You still doing it? Is he still involved
Yes,
with
he's
you?
still involved, yeah.
Tell it.
He took a break there for a while.
And you hooked up with Adam Chadbourne for quite a
I
few
did.
years too.
I got Kevin into lightweight.
Screaming
Demons.
Demons.
There. We had
Demons,
them.
yeah.
He won a lot of races
Yeah.
there.
Well, you won the 04 Demon Championship.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
And then you're always in the top 2 or 3.
Yeah, yeah. Then I got him into a late model, and we had fun with that. That's when Dave owned the track. The first race he won, Dave came running over with me with the pickup truck, says, "Get in, Norm." So we had to go to the victory lane and do that. He said, "That's quite a thing," he said, "Norm, that's quite a thing to have your son win." He
Oh,
says.
yeah. So, was that a late model or limited sportsman?
He had a late model back
It
then.
was a limited sportsman, you?
Yes,
So you did all right in that.
yeah.
You had 15 starts and 9 wins, 12
Yeah.
top 2s and 15 top 3s.
Yeah.
So back to the Chadbourne deal. How long have you had that relationship?
2 years, yeah. my son decided to go to Colorado. And
So it's got you down here for a ton of wins sponsoring him.
yes,
As a sponsor, yeah.
as a sponsor.
Sponsor, so-
Yes.
But he drove
I
for Norm for
sponsored
2 years.
Adam since he was a kid. He's my nephew.
Okay, that's like 60 wins together.
Well, yes, he started a long time ago, and I've always, like I said, he's my nephew, so I always give him
yeah.
a tire or two.
You picked some pretty good people to sponsor and continue to Garrett Hall, Nick Hinckley, Dave Farrington. Joey Dorian.
Yeah.
Garrett, he's the one. Is he the one that won the first Granite State up there in the '94 car?
94 car,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I sent him a message. That was.
Yeah.
He couldn't have done it any better. Ride there and just take off, could he?
Yeah.
Did a heck of a job.
Yeah, my friend Dave Reed got me involved with that. He said, "You got to come down and see this kid race in Beach Ridge." So I did, and I watched, and mostly on the fifth turn. But I decided to help him out, so we did, and
Yeah, he's
it's
a-
been great. Great family.
I've talked with him, and like all your kids and grandkids, I've talked with them on Facebook. All good, humble people.
Very nice.
So we'll jump into another Dave deal here.
Yeah, I got a couple questions too, but you go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just going to give stats.
Yeah.
We're finally back to Wiscasset. And 108 starts, 21 wins, 1 or 2 championships. It kills me every time. Charger division, street stock, strictly street, limited, late model, and pro stock.
You ain't got the golf cart on there.
But it's ATT. In NEPSA, you had 1 start. It was a top 5.
I don't even remember.
You've raced at Beach Ridge, Spud Speedway, Oxford, Lee, Thompson, the great American truck racing participant, Rockingham, Pocono, and Atlanta. So you've covered some territory.
And Orlando Speedway and Citrus County and
I've been all over.
Ocala
I didn't know
and-
you went there. I went to the middle of those places. Really?
and New Smyrna, of course.
Yeah.
Orlando Speedway, I finished 2nd or 3rd there one night.
It's a pretty wild place.
Yeah.
I want to bring you back to one race though that when you ask people about memorable moments at Wiscasset Speedway, tell us about the night you drove in a flagpole race in your own pickup truck and got broadsided
Pickup
by,
that was a 2000 by Lefty.
by Lefty. Yeah, they called him Lefty because he only
had one arm.
Only one arm, and he was driving in a flagpole
He had
race.
one of them suicide knobs. Well, I was trying to take care of the crowd. It was a big race. I don't remember what it was, but I get out there and run with the flagpole guys. You had to go around go around the track, and I had a brand new Chevy pickup, and this guy just didn't give me. I went in there, and he was coming, and he never cut me no slack. He hit me right broadside that brand new truck.
Field filler.
But there was about 3,000 people in the stands. You know, and I think it cost me $1,500 to get that truck fixed. It was worth every minute. I never let off.
I bet they went crazy.
Oh, you kept
Oh
going.
yeah.
And another memory I have, just as my time working, and this goes, we haven't really talked a whole lot about your time owning the track and your thoughts about that period of your career, but there was a night where the drainage from the infield under turn 2 had clogged up, and we had a bad rainstorm, and half of the infield was flooded. The water was right up to the edge of turn 1 and 2. And we were trying to, you guys got it unclogged, but it was going to take a while to be able to be race ready.
Show business.
Yeah,
Business.
Dave gets on the radio and says, Ken,
Entertainer.
I want you to invite every kid out of the grandstands, and I want to line them up at the edge of the water. And Dave was on the other edge of the water over in turn 1 and 2, holding a trophy. He's like, the first kid that gets to me gets this trophy.
They bail right into that water and across they come.
Some of those kids were up over their waist in that water, but again, show
Well, you had to
business.
have something for the crowd.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I thought you was going to bring up the night that Ryan and his little buddies got down the pipe that goes from down to the septic system.
Oh, no, I haven't heard this.
Unscrewed the thing and put a stick. Well, that happened while you was there.
Yeah.
You probably didn't even know it was happening, but
No.
anyway, the toilets was all backed up.
Oh my God! Who did that?
My grandson Ryan and his buddies, they was only 5, 6, 7 years old.
Oh, no.
So when we found out first I was going to break the pipe and just let it go and clean it up the next day. What are you going to do?
Yeah, you're in trouble at that point.
I'm down there to break the pipe, and then I don't know, my brother or somebody found where it's clogged, pulled that out, and everything went because the paper got in there because it quite a ways down to the septic tank in Wiscasset there. So there's been some memorable moments there. That's for sure.
Or the lights going off.
The
and-
lights going off.
Yeah. Any regrets on talk about those years that you owned the track and the struggles, challenges.
To tell you the truth, when I went there, I thought I'd be there like number of people ahead of me. Be there 4 or 5 weeks and go broke and leave.
You were there about 13 years. weren't you?
17 years.
17?
16?
The difference between me and them people that went broke after they went there, I was broke when I went there to start with.
Right.
Yeah, but you
I
did.
had no money to go in there, but Kronk wanted somebody in there so bad that
Yeah.
he made a deal that he probably wished he had
He was the
afterwards.
stabilizing force the place needed very badly.
Yeah, but unlike a lot of people that jump into a racetrack deal, you already had your own income, livelihood before you went to the racetrack. You know,
That
you
is
worked-
true, but it costs money to.
Oh, yeah.
But I had when I opened that up, I had a lot of people. People come around,
Oh, yeah.
help me clean that up. They mowed the grass, they cut the bushes.
It takes a lot.
People just came from everywhere just to help, not for money. I mean, we didn't pay. Nobody got paid there for the first couple of
I
years.
know your wife and your family worked hard there.
Oh, my wife worked
Yeah.
very hard there, and that's why I sold it. In the
Yeah.
end,
Right.
I had so much going on. She'd go there, and Nick Hinckley used to work for her and mow the grass back in then, and they're still good friends to this day. And not that I ain't, I like Nick too, but he'd come there and help her. And I'd show up race day. That's all. I was like Ken. I showed up race day.
Yeah, so she handled it all.
No, but you couldn't have a blade of grass anywhere. I guarantee you, there was no piece of grass that was tall.
Well, you
Right,
talked
Ken?
about her flower gardens and how she keeps that so
Oh
manicured.
well,
so
she won't even let me mow the lawn at the house.
She's seen you drive, I guess.
She's seen me mow grass.
Yeah. I do want to say something. It's a compliment to all of you and your families. About a month or so ago, we went to the first Granite State Pro Stock race, and I'm there with the Graves and Stephanie Burgess and Fleury and Bob Halley and Charlie, a whole bunch of racing people. And Josh comes blasting out, grandson, blows a wicked lap there and sits on the pole, and Travis comes out, does really well. And then the next division down, out comes Cole Robinson, then Kyle Robinson, then Sonny Robinson, then Ryan Robinson, then out comes a Harnish, and we're all sitting there looking at each other. You mentioned McGinnis, and everybody starts talking about motors, and McGinnis comes up. Then the Thayer family comes up, and those are names. You realize every name was racing, and part of those families were like going back to over a half a century ago.
Oh yeah.
And then the Thayer family was there when my father was racing in the 50s, and it's amazing the support you people have provided in input in racing that long. I just blew my mind that all those names were there with people that I was familiar with, raced with, against. Incredible.
Well, I've raced against people my age, and I've raced against their kids, and I've raced against their grandchildren.
Yeah, very impressive.
What keeps you coming back? What is it that keeps you coming back?
Well, once you're having your blood, you just love
Yeah.
going to races. But
Winning probably doesn't hurt either.
Right.
That's a tradition with these guys. Yeah.
we like
Well-
the every other week. That's good for us.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd like that, but I did like it, and then of course now Josh is racing
Yeah.
so many different classes where it end
Right.
up being there every week.
Speaking of Josh, that's 7 championships in what amount of time?
3 years.
And is that the most championships anybody else has won?
He's
there?
tied with Morris Young now for the most
Right.
in the track's
He
history.
told me yesterday he wants one more.
Who
Yeah,
did?
Josh. Yeah.
Josh is working up.
You think he'll settle for one more?
Well, he'd like to maybe try a few big races.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's ready
Well,
for
like
that.
Travis,
So,
he seems to have that ability.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but me going to races, I just can't wait to get there to see everybody.
Yeah,
right.
That's what
Gonna
I
say,
like
what
about it.
keeps
I
you
know
going?
everybody that's there, and as long as they say hi to me when I walk by,
Yeah. A lot of people say it's the friends,
It's
that's
a
the
friend,
people.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well
Yeah,
I
it is a way
met
of
a lot
life.
of people at the racetrack, made
yeah.
a lot of friends. And
It's an addiction, and especially, like I said, this whole table's been victory lane from all the way back to the great-grandchildren, and once you feel that, you are addicted, I think. Everything that goes with that. You guys have certainly all done it. And still doing it. That's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
You're still doing it. You know, everybody we talk to, it's always in past tense. And you guys are still in the future.
Christ, I got a couple cows. You want to challenge me?
Hell yeah, you know I would.
I got to mention something. I was with Garrett Hall the first year down Hickory, and I get down there, and we were Facebook friends, and I looked up on that board, and I saw Pete Silver, Pete Silver, Pete Silver, Pete Silver, Pete Silver, Pete Silver. I said, holy cow.
Yeah.
I called him
I
up.
said,
I
"You
said,
go
holy
for me."
cow, you did really well.
Speaking of that, why did I finish behind you? Were you blocking me?
No, you complain about the brakes all day long. Probably I don't the brakes, that's why.
How did you get me to do that? What were we doing?
I have no idea.
I went back and looked at the date. It was 84, so I was living in North
At
Carolina.
Unity.
Was I for
At
a visit?
Unity, yeah, it was at Unity, remember?
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think some of them trips you've made up after the fame you had, you wasn't as good as, or we'd gotten better, Peter.
Wow. It depends on what, a lot of it's,
And I don't know what you was driving for car when you showed up either, you know, it was probably something that somebody put together for you when you showed up some of them times.
well, I know, I went all around. I think the first time I came back for a 250 and I drove Marty's car and won a 100 lapper. Then I came back the next year and drove Butchie's car. Then I did a lot of hopping around and stuff. But listen, everybody got better. I mean, you guys just didn't sit stale. I mean, the cars got better. Ronnie's a perfect example. I worked, I had a business, and I decided I was going to be a new car, and that's buy a new car. With a new car comes more knowledge, and I think all you guys went down that route to a certain extent.
Yeah,
I wanna
you
hit
gotta
it-
have good equipment.
I want to hit a quick rapid fire type of thing here. Just give me a name. If you want to dig into reasons or whatever, that's fine. But the red screen is on already, so we're on bonus time. We've overshot the runway again. Favorite
we're
guy
off
you
the
ever
air
raced
now?
against? And toughest guy you ever raced against?
Probably sitting next to him. I knew he was going to do that.
Yeah, he had me one time. He probably don't remember me getting in the side of him, but I did one time, and he met me at my car afterwards. I never forgot that. I don't think I had the window net down either.
How about you, Dave? Toughest guy you ever
Ralph
raced against?
Nathan.
Yeah, that name seems to come up once in a while. Norm?
Mike Moody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on the outside trying to go by a number of times, and people were complaining afterwards that I was blocking. I said, I'm just working my ass off to try to beat this guy.
Favorite track?
Wisconsin.
Yeah. Dave?
Wisconsin.
Good answer.
Unity.
Yeah, I hear you. No, all good choices. Absolutely. These shows could always go a lot longer. Thank you. Usually try to go around the table as we wrap up and just give you guys a chance to thank people that have been instrumental in your career, whether it was at the beginning or the people who keep you at it now. But Ronnie, we'll start with you.
Well, I tell you what, for me to get into sport and the way I did it, and I just believe in working hard, and my family has done. You just work so hard to get where they've got, and they deserve every minute of it. And like I said before, me going and meeting everybody, and that, all my friends are at the races, and that's what I love to do. And you know, my relatives are on Winston Cup teams, and when you stand at Daytona and you see your nephew go by with Benjamin on the back of his uniform, I'm thinking, holy crap, how much bigger can this get?
Yeah,
Nice.
that's
And it's
great.
just perfect. So.
Great. Dave, how about you?
What was the question?
Who you want to thank? I hope it all
Oh, I
starts
got to
with.
thank my lovely wife,
I was gonna
Sandra,
say, I
for
hope it all
standing
starts
behind
with
me all
Sandra.
these years.
You need to
We
preserve
love,
the rest
we
of your
love
life,
Sandra.
yeah.
Yes.
And I can't thank all my sponsors. The biggest sponsors I ever had in my racing career happened this year on the Boss Hog 150, and I never made a half a lap.
Yeah.
I had $4,000 sponsor for that race.
Who was that?
Tom Farley was one, and who the hell was the other one? I had
We got to
another one.
make it up next year. We got to get you back in that race. It's named after you, for crying out loud.
I don't know. We'll see.
Norm, how about you?
I just want to thank the local track that I've been sponsoring for years and stuff, and they're doing a good job this year. Great job.
Oh, yeah.
Talking to Vanessa just lately, they're thinking of another 100 lapper for the Pro Stocks, which I sponsor. So that'll be good. And
I know the guy's making the schedule.
yeah, yeah. So that's good. And all the guys, I just want to thank them for hanging around, having a great time, and enjoying life.
Awesome. Pete, any final thoughts from
Just
you?
want to thank them all, and I'm overly impressed about their dedication, longevity, and to continue to support the sport the way they do. Looking forward to watch what they all do, and their children, their grandchildren, and their great-grandchildren. I think it'll be fun to watch.
Well, I think we're I mean, I've got some very good, I think, friends here, you know, and Trav's here in the background here, but I mean, nice young fellow that's won the 250 3 times. I mean,
He's not old enough, I guess, to get up here.
you know, but he'll get up here and talk about us when we're gone.
No, very impressive, guys. Thank you for showing up.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you
for
having
all you
us.
do.
It was
Thank you for
awesome.
having
And thank you guys. I want to thank you for joining us here on the Vintage Racers Roundtable. This has been a great show, and we'll certainly be putting some more together. I want to thank Elevation Station and Oxford Auto Salvage for their support, and of course, our host here on Lincoln County TV. If you want to find out more about the Maine Vintage Race Car Association, go to mainvintagerace.org. There you can find out how to be a member, how to support the club, and how to support our mission of preserving and presenting the history of auto racing in the state of Maine. So one final time on behalf of Pete Silva and our three guests, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.